Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Exodus, the 13th chapter. And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel. And the openeth the womb is the firstborn, right? The first baby to come out of the mom. Both of man and of beast, it is mine. So the Lord here said, I'm claiming all the firstborns of your beasts, of your children. They're all considered mine. And as we'll read in the chapter, basically what's happening here is the Lord is saying, on the Passover night, I slew all the firstborns of the Egyptians, but I preserved the firstborn of Israel alive. Hence, they are now mine. And so all your firstborn have to be redeemed, okay, from me. And that redemption is going to be a redemption by substitution, okay? So you give something as ransom for your firstborns, and that includes your children and your cattle and your everything, your beasts. And Moses said unto the people, Remember this day in which ye came out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength, which is basically slavery or servitude, for by strength of hand, the Lord Yahweh brought you out from this place. So by the Lord's mighty power, he delivered you from Egypt. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. So remember this holy day and keep it, considering that it was the feast of unleavened bread. This day came ye out in the month Abib, which is that first month in which the Passover is kept. And it shall be when the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, which is a land that's fruitful, that thou shalt keep this service in this month. So in this month, Abib, the first month, you're supposed to keep the Passover. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread. See, so for 7 days you got to eat unleavened bread. And in the seventh day shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee. Neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. So you're supposed to get rid of all that leaven before that Passover. And thou shalt shew thy son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which the Lord Yahweh did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. So this is going to be, you're going to pass this on to your descendants, right? So they know and understand this ordinance. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, and the Lord Yahweh's that the Lord Yahweh's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. And this is basically where you get the concept of the phylacteries. When you read about that in the New Testament, they enlarge their phylacteries, right? This is what it looks like, if I'm spelling that right. Phylactery. Okay, there you go. Phylacteries. Yeah. So it's kind of like it's interesting, and this is basically supposed to be like I guess they have like the law written on it on the tiny like scrolls, and then they would bind it to their hand, and pack it into this tiny box on their head, in reference to what was said over here. But really, it's not necessarily meant to be taken that literal. However, when you read this in the NLT, it says, this annual festival or holy day will be a visible sign to you, like a mark branded on your hand or your forehead. Let it let it remind you to always recite the teaching of the Lord. With a strong hand, the Lord rescued you from Egypt. Okay, so it's supposed to be upon you and in your mind, like it's an actual like mark that's upon you. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year. So the season would be that 14th day of the first month. And it shall be when the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto thee and to thy fathers, and shall give it thee, that thou shalt set apart unto the Lord Yahweh all that openeth the matrix. Opening the matrix is another way of saying those that open the womb, which are the firstborn. And let's actually look into the word matrix here and see what they have. Yeah, there you go, womb. So it says, and every firstling that cometh of a beast, which thou hast, the males shall be the Lord's. So all your firstborn sons and all your firstlings, right? Your firstborn, cattle and all of that, they would be for the Lord. And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb. So if it was a lamb, right, the firstborn you would sacrifice to the Lord. But an ass was an unclean animal, meaning you couldn't go and sacrifice an ass to the Lord, all right? Because I believe the ass is not cloven-footed and doesn't chew off the cud. And so instead, what you would do is for the ass, you would redeem it with a lamb. So you would bring a lamb to offer to the Lord, and that would be an exchange to redeem or ransom for the ass or the donkey. And if thou will not redeem it, but if you refuse to do that, or you can't, then thou shalt break his neck, that is the ass. And all the firstborn of man among thy children shalt thou redeem. So basically, this was to say that firstborn belonged to the Lord. So if you wanted that, you needed to bring something to offer to the Lord, to redeem, to exchange for it. And that would be that lamb. And if you didn't do it, then you had to break the neck to basically kill the ass, because you can't just use it without, redeeming it from the Lord, because it belongs to him. And he says concerning your firstborn, you have to redeem them. All right. And I think as we keep on reading in the Torah, it'll go into what was the price of that redemption for the firstborns. And it shall be when thy son asketh thee in time to come, this is basically your descendants, saying, what is this? So what does this mean? Why do we do this? That thou shalt say unto him, by strength of hand, the Lord Yahweh brought us out of Egypt from the house of bondage. So he delivered us from that hard slavery we were in Egypt. And it came to pass when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, so when he refused to let us go, that the Lord Yahweh slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord Yahweh all that openeth the matrix, being males. That's your sheep, your oxen, and so on, all of the firstborn males, except for the ass, because you can't sacrifice the ass to the Lord because it's unclean. That's why he said you would either redeem it with a lamb, or you would sacrifice a lamb in its stead, or you would break its neck. But all the firstborn of my children I redeem, because you're not going to sacrifice it. The Lord does not do human sacrifices, right? In that sense, like he hasn't, the case with Jephthah is an exception, because that the covenant or the deal Jephthah made with the Lord wasn't necessarily a human sacrifice. He didn't know it was going to be that, right? But generally speaking, the Lord never commanded us to perform human sacrifices. So we have to redeem those firstborns. And it shall be for a token upon thine hand, and for frontlets between thine eyes, like we read up above. For by strength of hand, the Lord Yahweh brought us forth out of Egypt. Okay. And this is basically for you to always keep this in mind. Hence you have, today or back then known as the phylacteries and so on. And it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. So when you look here, right, I think that's also known as the Via Maris, or the way of the sea. Let's look that up. Via Maris. Yeah, there were two crucial ancient trade routes connecting Africa, Asia, and Europe, with the Via Maris, way of the sea, hugging the Mediterranean coast through Israel. That's basically going along this way. And the Lord purposely didn't send Israel through that way, because that would go through the territory of the Philistines. And he didn't go through the territory of the Philistines because, even though it would get you to the promised land faster, for God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war and they return to Egypt. So being afraid, they're like, oh, yeah, no, we're not ready for this. And they basically run back to Egypt. So instead, but God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt. So when you go into that word harnessed, it means like in array, right, in formation. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones away hence with you. So he made them to swear that, hey, when the Lord delivers you out of here, you better take my bones with you. And they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham in the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud. And this was that angel that was basically in that pillar of a cloud, and fire by night was a chariot, today known as a UFO. And it was Yahushua that was in there leading them. So that's what they would follow as to guide them. So as it says, to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire, to give them light, to go by day and night. So that chariot would be able to shine light to allow them to travel both in the nighttime and in the daytime. Verse 22, he took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. So that chariot was always there to lead them and guide them while their whole entire journey. And that brings us to the end of the book of Exodus, the 13th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.